How about them Cowboys?
Angry Cowboys fan, are you down to ride? Angry Cowboys fan, are you down to ride? Drop a like on the video, go ahead and subscribe.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and Angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. And after yesterday's live where we were, of course, talking about Dak Prescott's contract situation in Dallas, the offers that he was given and turned down, the franchise tags that he went through, and waiting until opening day, I woke up this morning and came across this gem of a YouTube video. The YouTube channel that I'm talking about is the Athletes First YouTube channel. It's videos from the agency of many of the top paid players in this sport. Athletes First is the home of Dak Prescott's super agent, Todd France. The title of the video: How Dak Prescott Became the Highest Paid NFL Player, Athletes First Family Podcast, Episode 10. I thought to myself, like, well, damn, we just got done talking about this on the Facts Over Feelings live stream. Shout out to Sports Junkie, Steph, and everybody that was involved in that live stream yesterday. My curiosity got the best of me, Cowboys Nation. It got the best of me, so I watched the entire video, and Cowboys Nation, it is extremely informative. Brian Murphy, the founder and CEO of Athletes First. AJ Stevens is the vice president of client strategy. And of course, you have super agent Todd France himself. They give a behind the scenes take on the contract negotiations involving Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. They go over when Dak Prescott actually acquired their services, how the franchise tags happened, the first record-breaking $40 million contract all the way up to the most recent record-breaking $60 million contract. It put a lot of talk to rest, Cowboys Nation. It settled a lot of debates that people would have within Cowboys Nation. It goes over their feelings on waiting until opening day to finally ink that deal. It's all about the agent/client relationship, and I feel the fact that the video only has 492 views on it at the time of this recording, that's criminal, Cowboys Nation. That is super criminal. So you know what I had to do. Your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan, had to take some clips of this jewel from the podcast episode. I also included a link to this video in the description. If you are into that behind the curtains aspect of what's going on during contract negotiations, I highly suggest that you watch the full podcast episode in its entirety. But what we're about to do now is go into the 3 clips that I got for y'all, and y'all know what we're going to do after that. We're gonna come back and unpack this raw and uncut. So, Angry Cowboys fans, let's take a listen to the first clip from the Athletes First Family Podcast.
When we did the 4-year deal in 2021, it was really with this next contract in mind. It was all about setting up this next one and how much leverage can we create for this next contract that Dak will have, and getting to 2024 when the top of the market is now $55 million per year on average from the 40 that Dak did just 3 years prior. That just shows why it was so important to have that shorter deal, why we didn't want to have, 5 more years left on the contract had we done this long 6-year deal or 10-year deal. That's why it was of the utmost importance to us throughout the entire process getting that first deal.
So they come to you, and what happens?
They come to us. It's still a negotiation. They come with an offer that, we made that face and that sound when we first saw it. We thought, what was this? Where's the rationale?
I literally said to myself, why did we do a 4-year deal on the first one? We should have done a 5-year so we don't have to be back in dealing with it again so fast. Yeah. It literally seemed like it was overnight.
And Todd France wanted to do 5 years because he didn't want to come back to the table with Jerry and Steven. Damn, Jerry and Steven, come on, y'all. Cowboys Nation, these contracts are all about setting up. They're all about propping up. Whether it's setting up the individual player or setting up the overall market, it's the responsibility of the agent to keep the market's growth for the other players. It's such a chain reaction and a testament to how the agent-client machine actually operates, Cowboys Nation. The market continues to grow because the highest paid is continuously broken. Not only are fans and media pundits looking at who's the highest paid player, they're looking at who's the highest paid non-quarterback now, who's the highest paid at their position now. Not only is the media having a story to run with, increasing the exposure of themselves, the players, and the teams, but it continues to increase the value at that position. Consider it like a cost of living raise, but for professional athletes. You know what I'm saying? But now let's go ahead and dive into the second clip that I got for y'all. In this clip, AJ talks about the business aspect of negotiation and how it truly is. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that and come back and talk about it. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
At the end of the day, it's a business. They're trying to get they're trying to get their employees for as cheap as possible. And we understand that. There's a mutual respect in that. Sometimes you make that face when you get proposals from teams and you say, like, I don't understand this at all, but I guess at least we're starting the process.
Yeah, and it goes to Todd's conviction too, right? I mean, it's Jerry Jones, it's Stephen Jones. They're not going to come and give you an A+ offer at the beginning. There's going to be a negotiation process, but Todd's so convicted as to where he should be, especially Dak, who he loves so much. Is like, you can't help but make that face. You couldn't help but make that face now. You know what I mean? But it's it's understandable. But also at the same time, AJ, we've talked about before, you're working on Tua's deal. You're working on Jordan Love's deal at the same time, right? Or around that time period.
Yeah.
So you know where the market's going.
And I'm telling him, don't go higher because you got to set up all these other deals.
Yeah.
Because every deal affects another deal.
Every deal affects another deal. That's the way negotiations work, Cowboys Nation. One side's going to start high and the other side's going to start low. At the end of the day, they're both going to meet in the middle. That's not what I want to talk about, though. What I want to bring up is the fact that A.J. Stevens said that he was also working with Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love's deal, while Todd France worked on Dak Prescott's deal, meaning that they were trying to, once again, set up the next domino. Tua signs for this. Jordan Love signs for that. Then Dak Prescott signs to the highest quarterback and NFL player contract in history. We're going to talk more about that during this Raw and Uncut portion, so make sure you stick around for that. You're not going to want to miss it. Now let's go ahead and take a listen to the last clip. In the last clip, we talk about where Dak Prescott's mentality was during the whole negotiation process between Dak, Todd France, and the Dallas Cowboys. So let's take a listen so we can come back and unpack this Raw and Uncut. Everybody, let's go ahead and take a listen.
But I remember him saying something to the media, like, what was Dak's mentality at this point of the negotiation? What was important to him?
Ultimately, he was thinking about football. Like, I remember we went and sat down with him maybe right at the start of training camp or right before training camp and really just gave him an overview of everything. I remember the other two quarterbacks weren't quite done, so I was basically telling him, here's where the negotiations are with Tua and Jordan, and we think they're going to finish around here. And this is, how the market has changed since your last contract. And he was just really thinking about football.
He gave us the green. You do what you need to do. Like, I'm focused on football.
Yeah.
Especially when they started very late coming back at us. They could have done it all off season.
Yep.
And when Dak's getting ready for camp and getting into camp, the switch flips. Like, he does not want to be involved in or having conversations about the contract.
Yep.
Now, we can talk about it, and he didn't even want to be updated unless there was something worthy to be talked about.
Yep.
Now, I still did, and he still heard it, but they were shorter conversations. They weren't near as in-depth as they were the first go-around because he was in training camp.
Yeah.
And that's where he wanted to be, and that's where his mindset was. And he was willing to bet on himself. He's like, that's fine. They don't want to do a contract. I'll be a free agent.
Yeah.
And of course, the Cowboys, were banking on the star on the helmet, and that no matter what, he's going to come back. And it wasn't going to work out that way. I had a deal not worked out. I really believe that.
Y'all ready for this Raw and Uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it. Cowboys Nation, I'm the type of guy that loves to watch biographies. I love to watch the making of a movie. I love to get that behind the scenes, never before seen or heard type stuff. When I watched this podcast, I just knew that I had to make a video and nerd out about how in-depth they were in talking about the contract situations between Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. It answered a lot of questions that I had. Why the second franchise tag? Why did they wait so long to sign Dak Prescott? What was the holdup in the process during the 2024 offseason? Was there any chance that Dak would actually hit free agency, and was that in their mind? This podcast answered all of my questions. So let's talk about the gripes that I hear when it comes to people pocket watching our Dallas Cowboys quarterback. They gave Dak Prescott too much money. They offered Dak a contract. He didn't want to take it because he's selfish. This podcast puts into perspective that a client can have as much say or allow his agent to completely handle the situation when it comes to the athletes focusing on their craft. That's exactly what Dak Prescott chose to do. He gave Todd France full responsibility, all negotiation ability, and only wanted an update when it was about signing a contract. The main thing that I see some fans can't get a hold of is market value for these different types of players. There is a ceiling and there's a floor when it comes to the NFL free agency market. A player can get the lowest paid, the vet minimum, or they can reset the market, meaning that they can break through that ceiling, in turn creating a new ceiling. Each player is advised to get as much money as their abilities, their talents, and their production can yield them. Some get the vet minimum, some get just above average, and some break the bank. The ones who break the bank make it possible for players underneath them to get paid more, increasing the amount for one of them to come up and get paid even more than what Dak Prescott got paid. To take a team-friendly deal, some would look at that as a hiccup in the market's growth, but other players would just come and take that top spot. Also, I learned about AJ and how he was actively in the middle of getting Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love's deal done. If you take a look at the list of quarterbacks that are represented by the athlete's first family, you will see how and why Dak Prescott's $60 million contract fell the way it did. Some of these names include Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, and Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, and Josh Allen. How did the signings happen this past offseason, Cowboys Nation? If you remember correctly, Jerry was wanting to watch leaves fall. Those leaves were Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jordan Love. If you come over to Spotrac.com, you will see the order in which these players were signed, with Dak Prescott being the highest paid. The two underneath Dak Prescott have agents within the athlete's first family. A lot of people think that it's the quarterback who wants to be the highest paid. They're not realizing that these agents have to eat too, Cowboys Nation. For a quarterback to take a pay cut means that their agent has to take a pay cut. It's not as easy as I'll take less, because we are currently witnessing the same thing with Micah Parsons right now. The Dallas Cowboys have sent him several offers, but none have been accepted. Like this podcast episode talks about, it could be a conflict with the length of the contract, or it could be a conflict with the money. While the Dallas Cowboys wanted Dak Prescott to sign to a 5-year deal, Todd France stuck to his guns of 4 years to give Dak Prescott more of an opportunity to negotiate and not be stuck at the mercy of Jerry and Stephen Jones giving him pity raises throughout a 10-year contract. Something like Patrick Mahomes is hoping that the Kansas City Chiefs do. But this podcast episode was super enlightening due to the fact that some may not know how a negotiation goes down. They have never been a part of a negotiation process and may think that it's easy peasy when it's a daunting process. Just like people think playing the quarterback position is an easy thing to do or winning a Super Bowl is easy, they think negotiations are a piece of cake. But that's the furthest thing from the truth, Cowboys Nation. This podcast is talking about the emotions that are invested in getting a player the money that they deserve, what type of manpower it takes to get the client paid, the ups and downs when it comes to dealing with Jerry and Stephen Jones, and what it actually took to get Dak Prescott's contract done. It's also a glimpse into how and why Micah Parsons hasn't been extended yet. But on some real stuff, Cowboys Nation, these players deserve what the market dictates they should get. These players shouldn't have to go into negotiations wanting to take a pay cut to help their respected team manage their salary cap. That's the GM's responsibility, Cowboys Nation. It should not be a consideration unless the player comes out and is willing to take less. A team-friendly discount should not be in the cards coming from a GM/owner who was not proactive in negotiations to begin with. They jerked Dak Prescott around twice, and you wonder why he wouldn't work with them. They're currently jerking Micah Parsons around while he stated that he would take less. So, as fans, Cowboys Nation, can we just stop expecting these players to do their job for less money? Stop expecting the most out of these people while wanting to pay them the bare minimum. When Dak Prescott got $40 million, people were saying that he only deserved $35 million. When he got $60 million, they said he was only worth $40 million. Even after 2 years of immense growth in the salary cap, some expect Dak Prescott to get paid less. They listen and they sympathize with the owners instead of wanting these players to get their bread. They allow the owners to create these salary cap narratives and they hang on to them like they're gospel. They believe this whole pie story that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones have been feeding us for decades. It's time to wake up, Cowboys Nation. It is not the 90s anymore. We now have the ability to fact check Jerry and Stephen Jones in real time. If you don't choose to do that, then you're choosing to be willfully ignorant. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. I am sorry, but I had to nerd out about this podcast episode. It was great to get into the minds of Todd France and everybody at Athletes First. But what did y'all think about the video? Was it informative for you? Y'all know how we do it. We always talk about it in the comment section. But if you're digging this content and want to help get it out to even more Dallas Cowboys fans, drop a like on this video and share it with anybody that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan. If you are DC for life and understand just a little bit more how negotiation processes work, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified whenever I go live, release a video, podcast episode, film breakdown, draft coverage, or Madden 25 or college football 25 gameplay. After having the talk during the live yesterday, this podcast episode from Athletes First Family Podcast was a breath of fresh air. I actually learned a few things from this Cowboys Nation diving into the minds of super agent Todd France. How do you feel? Y'all let me know. And I do want to give a shout out to Mark Holmes. Yo, you are in my thoughts. You are in my prayers. I'm giving you virtual hugs. Our condolences on your loss. You're in our prayers, brother, and we love you. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan, and I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys Fan podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.